You answered this in your mailbag and wanted to dive into it. Why do you think the Browns' 5 best skilled players, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Mari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, aren't on the field together in a 2-minute drill? I think that's a valid question. Take me through that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It comes down to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on the field together, right? And we've talked about this before. Week 1, I think they were on the field together for like 10 snaps, give or take. Since then, it's really declined. They were on the field together twice Sunday against the Ravens. So that's what it comes down to, because unless you commit to playing Chubb and Hunt together, then you're not going to get your top 5 guys out there, right? You probably won't get your top 3 or 4 guys out there. I mean, Amari Cooper's out there, David Njoku, then you get those 2 guys and Donovan Peoples-Jones. And the Browns just aren't willing to do that. And there's reasons for it. Like, I think it's harder to scheme when you have 2 running backs. Defenses can approach you differently. There's not the deep threat from both guys that you have if you have a third receiver on the field, which is almost always what they do when they go into 2-minute drills. They have that third receiver on the field. And you can't really line 2 guys up in the backfield and get the same matchups. So I understand it, but I do think there's a way to do it, and that's putting Kareem Hunt in the slot, play him as a slot receiver more than he has been. And we've seen him do that some in the past. I think when Freddie Kitchens was here, he did it some. And if you do that, you're taking a guy like David Bell off the field, or Anthony Schwartz, who was a healthy scratch yesterday. And I think you can make a legitimate argument that Kareem Hunt right now is a better player, right? He might not be a better receiver, but he's a better player. And if you get in the ball in his hands, he does more with it than David Bell does. So it's interesting. Kevin Stefanski said today that, part of the reason they go Kareem Hunt in the 2-minute drill is to give Nick Chubb a rest and to keep him fresh. So obviously that part would be missing, and you'd have to manage his reps a different way. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times I get asked about Nick Chubb not being on the field in 2 minutes and the lack of those 2 guys together, Chubb and Hunt.
The other thing that Kevin Stefanski addressed, and it was kind of interesting, he was asked about on 3rd and 2, throwing the deep ball to Amari Cooper that was the pass interference. And he said when you get the one-on-one matchups, you have to take advantage of it. And I get that. I wholeheartedly get that. At some time, don't you want to get the ball in the hands of your best? I think it's pretty easy to say Nick Chubb is your most dynamic player, even though he's a running back. I think he's the most dynamic, biggest play threat. Don't you want to get the ball in his hands as many times as you can? Yeah,
you do. And I've been struggling with this not only today, right for weeks, because this is it's a consistent topic. It was the topic last week. I think if you take a step back, big picture, you need to get Nick Chubb the ball more, right? He had 18 touches yesterday, I want to say. Maybe that perfect number is 22. And if you get him 22 and he averages 7 yards a touch, it's another 28 yards, and maybe that's the difference, right? Maybe that's a closer field goal. Maybe that's a field goal into a touchdown, and the outcome swings. And we talked about it. If every game is so close, then maybe that would make such a huge difference. Having said that, I also understand that you can't just run it every time. In the first half, he was 7 rushes for 20 yards. It's not even 3 yards a carry. So it's not like every Nick Chubb run turns into something, but at some point it will. And we saw that yesterday in the fourth quarter where they recommitted to getting him the ball, and he goes 12, 12, 22, right? And that's the Nick Chubb you expect. So, I think there's kind of a duality there. I understand what Stefanski's doing, but in totality, Chubb needs to get the ball more. Having said that, if Amari Cooper doesn't push off, they have the go-ahead touchdown. So I got a hard time arguing with that specific play call.
Yeah, I get it. I guess the mindset I have is Nick Chubb, let's use a baseball analogy. Nick Chubb's your home run hitter. Get him as many swings as you can, and eventually you're going to get the desired outcome.
Yeah, I think that's right. I do think specific plays. Like they open the second half and they want to throw a quick pass. It's like a one-step drop and something bad happens, right? Like they bring pressure or somebody misses a block, and all of a sudden it turns into a sack. Well, now you're 2nd and 15, where Chubb was probably going to get the ball on 2nd down, or if it was a 1st down, and now that's a whole drive where Nick Chubb doesn't get the ball. And you could say, well, just hand it to him on 1st down, and I understand that, but you also think you have this easy completion, called up, and it doesn't come to fruition. So I think it's harder to call plays than people think it is. But it shouldn't be that hard to get the ball to Nick Chubb.
No, I agree with you. You can't, if it's 1st and 20, you can't run because now you're looking at 2nd and 18, and then you're putting Jacoby Brissett behind the chains and in a tough situation, which is what you're trying to avoid anyway.